today we're learning about solving quadratic equations by what's called completing the square. Let's take a look at that. All right, here we go. Now what's important here is we look at this equation, x squared plus 5x plus c. In order to actually get this answer, we're going to create c. How do we do that? We take the b term and we divide by 2. So 5 divided by 2. And then we square it. So 5 over 2, and we square it. So 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 times 2 is 4. So our c is going to be 25 over 4. That's how we go ahead and create the square. Let's take a look. So we now write x squared plus 5x plus 25 over 4. Now our answer to this will be pretty simple. The square root of x squared is x, and then remember that 5/2? That's what we write right there. So x plus 5 over 2, quantity, parentheses, squared. Let's look at another question. So if we were going to do this one, this is how we do it. Let me get our pen real quick and I'll explain. We go ahead and we do the middle term, 8, and we divide it by 2. So 8 divided by 2. What is 8 divided by 2? Well, it's 4. So our c, according to this, we're supposed to take our b term and square it. So 4 squared is 16. So I will replace the c with a 16. What is my answer? I can write this as x plus 4 quantity squared. See, the answer to this will always be right here. Let's try this one. X squared minus 12x plus c. To get our c, we take the middle term, divide by 2, and square it. Well, what's 12 divided by 2? 6. So negative 6 squared would be 36. So I write 36 for my c. Now notice what my answer is. X minus, remember this part was the negative 6? So x minus 6 squared. Let's take a look at this one. See the middle term here? To get our c, we're going to take that middle term and divide by 2 and square it. So 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 2 is 4, so our c is 9 over 4. How do we write it? We write x and plus, because this was a plus sign, and we use our 3 over 2 and a square. All right, that's how we actually complete the square for this. All right, so find the value of c, which we did, and makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression as the square of a binomial. This is writing it as a square of a binomial. All right, here's example 2. You get this nice long equation. It says solve by completing the square. So what do? I have x squared minus 16x, and I leave the negative 15 over here. And so what I do is I take the middle term, 16, negative 16 technically, divided by 2, and we square it. So that's negative 8, and it's supposed to go right there. It's supposed to be our c value. We're supposed to square it. So basically, they skipped a step here. We have x squared minus 16x plus 64 equals negative 15. Now, see how we got that plus 64? We're also going to put it on this side, because you can't just suddenly make a c over here and not place it over here also. Fair treatment for all. Both sides get the same number, okay? So now we have x, and of course we want to go ahead and use what we wrote here, which was the middle term, so it's minus 8 quantity squared equals, and then 64 and negative 15 makes 49. So that's why you're going to see this equation, x minus 8 quantity squared equals 49. Now how do we undo a square? We square root. So square root, square root. So this becomes x minus 8, and this becomes plus or minus 7. To move the 8 over, we just simply add 8 to both sides. And so we have x equals 8 plus or minus 7. All right, let's try, looks at this example here. We notice these are all even numbers, so take out your 2. so they take out 2, so it becomes x squared, 10x, and 4. Now we do solving by completing the square. Take the b term, cut it in half, so 10 divided by 2, quantity squared. So 5 squared goes on this side, and 5 squared goes on that side. Another way of writing that is 25 equals 4 plus 25, okay? So, on this part, we do our x plus our 5 squared, because we remember this is always what that b was, cut in half. And 4 plus 25 happens to be 29. So now what do? Square root both sides. So you get x plus 5 equals plus or minus square root 29. And remember, we need to move the 5 over, so we get x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root 29. Now, we could plug this into our calculator. We would have to plug negative 5 plus square root 29 and negative 5 minus square root 29 into our calculator to get decimal answers. And so when you do that, you'll get about 0.39 and negative 10.39. All right, that's enough for tonight. I will see you all tomorrow learning about completing the square.